It's happened, guys. It happened. Unfortunately, like, this is a story as a tale as old as time. It's how we all thought this was going to end, but here we are. One of the level designers working on Highguard has posted to LinkedIn. What did he say? Unfortunately, along with most of the team at Wildlight, the developer behind Highguard, I was laid off today. This one really stings as there was a lot of unreleased content I was really looking forward to that I and others designed for Highguard. However, I'm excited for my next adventure. If your team or anyone needs an experienced level designer, hit me up. Check out my portfolio here to see what I've done the last 7 years as a level designer in the space. And he shares his resume with a bunch of stuff that he worked on: Ridgeline, Respawn, probably Monsters, Apex Legends, all sorts of stuff. And this has been corroborated by other people who are reporting that Highguard's developer is seeing mass layoffs across the board. It looks like most of the team has been shut down, and it's frankly not that surprising. If we look at like the Steam charts, again, not to just rub dirt in the wound, but if we look at those, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that these numbers are not sustainable for a team of like 100 people. It just doesn't work. The math isn't there. And this was my point from the beginning, is that there's probably people who would play Highguard. Even now, there's 2,000 plus people playing it. For an indie game, that's fantastic. But for a 100-person team with hundreds of millions of dollars dependent on it, that does not work. It just does not work. As a concept, I don't think Highguard ever made sense. What sucks again is that the people who made these decisions, they don't lose their jobs. They don't get screwed over, really. They're just fine. It's the individual developers, the level designers, those people who are incredibly talented that get laid off and suffer the repercussions of a project that frankly never should have been greenlit. Can you imagine how different this story could have been if Jeff got on stage and said, former Respawn devs, they worked on Titanfall and Apex Legends, and they're bringing to you a spiritual successor to a series that everybody loves. Check it out. And it goes into a trailer for a spiritual successor to Titanfall 3, shadow dropping 3 weeks later. Bro, this would be a very different story, but they didn't do that. Instead, they decided to pursue a live service free-to-play offering that looked incredibly generic and uninspired and uninteresting. And so people were willing to try it. This is what is so insane, is that people look at this and are like, people just needed to give it a chance. Dude, a lot of studios would kill for this many day one players. Like, estimates were that 1 million people, these are just on Steam. Estimates, if you average them out, 1 million plus players tried Highguard at launch and only 2,000 stuck around. That shows you that like they just weren't, it wasn't good enough to hold their attention. Okay. It wasn't where it was. And this is the reaction the internet collectively had. And you know what happened? You know what happened? People like you and me, we were accused of being like bad faith critics. We were accused of trying to hate on it, that we were rooting for the game's downfall, when we were looking at it and just saying, it just doesn't look very good, bro. It just doesn't. I don't need to eat the whole meal to tell if the first bite is unappealing. Or frankly, if it, I'm reading the menu. I didn't even try the meal. I just read the menu and I'm like, pig liver? I'm not interested in that. Moving on. Because you're allowed to. Their job is to appeal to you and convince you that this is worth playing. If the first trailer they drop looks bad and uninteresting, they don't get to then blame you when you don't show up on day one, you know? But that's the thing, is people did show up on day one and they still found it to match their expectations from that announcement trailer. The gaslighting that's happened with this game from like industry, I don't even know what to call them, like some of the industry elite maybe, has been ridiculous. Like talking down to you because you thought it looked mid. It's just been ridiculous. It's been insane. And again, it's just frustrating because I feel like any one of us could have looked at the trailer, could have looked at what Highguard was 3 years ago and told them, this ain't popping off, dude. This ain't popping off. What are we doing? No, this is not going to beat Overwatch. This is not going to beat Marvel Rivals. Like, no, granted, like 3 years ago, Marvel Rivals wasn't out yet, but you get what I mean. Like, we would have looked at this and been like, you're putting how much money into this? But they didn't listen. They didn't welcome that critique and feedback. Instead, they just decided to go for it. But this is the age-old problem with the live service push, and why I find it so just kind of gross, frankly, is that this is all being pushed by a group of executives in the high rise, right? They sign with their pen the big checks and greenlight these projects because the basic premise is that if you throw 10 live service games at the wall and they all crash and burn except for one, that one will pay for all of the failures and then its own development and marketing 10 times over, and then it'll make perpetually insane amounts of money moving forward. So you can throw all of these at the wall, have them crash and burn, but you just need that one. So it's worth the risk, right? Because the upside potential is so crazy high. But what's gross about it is that for those executives, it's just money. It's just dollars and cents. But there's a real human cost to this. There are people who like now are going to have to look at selling their house or moving to another state or country to get a new job to provide for them and their families because the executives that greenlit this were rolling the dice and like, we'll see if it works. Nope, didn't work. You're fired. Like that's literally what they're doing. It's just gambling at the altar of live service, hoping that it might work out. What made Highguard so bizarre was how hyped it got for seemingly no reason and how much big industry people started talking down to players for thinking it looked uninteresting. You know, were there people that were cheering for its death because they just hate live service? Sure. I think the average player, 99% of players though, that went in and tried the game, they went to the trouble of downloading it and playing it. They found it to just not be good enough to spend time on. Just wasn't that interesting to them. So they moved on. And that's the name of the game at the end of the day. That's the name of the game. I see your super chat. We got a couple. Daddy, thank you for the 5. Daddy, hi Luke. Do you think Highguard would have done much better without Jeff's hype, or do you think this game is just more of the same we have seen? I think this number would have been a lot lower without Jeff's hype. If they would have put the trailer in the middle of the show, there would not have been like a lot of negativity leading up to the launch. There also would not have been anywhere near as many players. Like I think that this probably would have been the all-time peak. And we'd still be sitting here. They still would lose money and still be doing layoffs. As a concept, I think Highguard never made sense. It's like one game mode that's not that interesting in a world where you're competing with the behemoths of Marvel Rivals, Valorant, Overwatch. Like you're competing against behemoths and you come out with one game mode that most people say it's like kind of lame. Jeff's 1,000% paid to hype this. No, I don't think so. To be very, very clear, I think Jeff honestly was trying his best to help a game he thought was good and that he thought was actually going to do well, and he wanted to help it do well. I know people have said that like, oh, I think he owned the company. No, I think he just honestly did a play test over the summer, was like, oh, these are former Respawn devs. This is awesome. I had fun. And one thing somebody brought up, which I think is fair, is that at those preview events, they went and they sat. I spoke to somebody who was at one of those events. They said that there was like an hour-long presentation before they started gameplay explaining all of the game mode, how to play it, how certain team synergies worked, how you should pivot. Like they explained the game from like a micro detail view. And so when all the players started playing, they understood the game to a much greater degree than the average player just jumping in would. And so they had a better time than somebody booting it up for the first time, dealing with all the headaches of learning a new game and seeing that the game's not running particularly well, and they've heard all this negativity and they just give up on it. You know, I think Jeff just honestly liked it and he wanted to help it. He tried to promote it and it just ended up backfiring massively and catastrophically. I think that that's what happened. Like, I think you're allowed to like games that other people, even the vast majority of people, find uninteresting or mid. You're allowed to like them. We might poke fun at you for liking them, but that's totally fine. If somebody in chat right now tells me, actually, Luke, I have a confession. I really like Roblox. I'm going to make fun of you, but that's your right. You can do that. Okay. Jeff's allowed to like something like this. The people who went to those stream preview events and liked it, because there were people who went and were like, that's fine. But there were people that went to the preview event and said they really liked it and that it was going to be great. That's totally fine. I have no problem with those people. They're allowed to like it. My point, okay, I see. I love Starfield. Successfully baited. Banned. No, I think that the people that I'm glad this was very revealing for were the people that talked down to the gaming community as though they were entitled to your playtime, that they were entitled to your attention, that you're not allowed to critique it until you've played it. No, bitch, if I look at the menu and the meal looks bad, I'm not ordering it. The chef doesn't get to come out and be like, why didn't you order the pig snout sandwich? You're being really judgy right now. Like, that's not how this works. You're trying to sell me something, okay? It's your job to be appealing. It's your job to make something I want. What are we doing? What are we doing? That was very revealing. And we saw a lot of people doing that. A lot of these like industry journalists who were like, you guys need to be more open-minded. You're being too judgy. Shut up. Shut up, okay? Shut up. The game never looked that interesting to any of us. And the fact that it played out the way that it did, I think, is evidence to the fact that people were willing to try it. They were willing to try it. They did. It just wasn't that good. And now the devs suffer the consequences. The people at the top, they're going to get out and probably be just fine. Just fine. You know, maybe if they say, oh yeah, I worked on Highguard, maybe that's like a little stain on their resume, but they can also always just point at, well, yeah, there's this coordinated hate attempt at our game that made it fail. It wasn't that the game was mid. It was that those nasty gamers didn't want to try it, even though they did. Like, it's just dumb. My point from the beginning with Highguard has been that just like Concord, just like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, just like so many of these games that we talk about that end up launching and failing, I don't think the concept was ever going to work. I think that this game, whether it launched today, 6 months from now, or a year ago, was always going to end this way, because as a concept, as a product, it just didn't make sense. They could have found that out by asking for critical feedback early on. I will tell you guys, I have been asked to provide feedback on projects that went on to be canceled. But to those companies' credit, like, they listened to the feedback of myself and others. There were other people in that panel that reviewed it and offered feedback, and they actually listened to it. So even though we see these things, I want you to understand that there are companies out there who are taking feedback and are trying to avoid these types of things. It's not super common. These types of things still happen a lot, but it is happening. Okay, so they should have done that type of thing, but we'll see if it makes, if they learn their lesson and do anything about it. These people need actual gamers to attend summits about the game. Most people could tell them instantly it's a bad idea and save them so much money. Yeah, or reveal it way earlier and get the initial trailer feedback. Like if I launched a trailer for my game and it immediately got, 90% dislikes, they'd be like, people don't want it. Okay, never mind, we're good. Like I'd be like, lesson learned, but that's apparently not how they want to do things. So here we are. It looks like Highguard is not going to get the chance to really try to make a comeback. It looks like it's just, they did the math. The odds of the comeback happening are low. It's going to take them a long time to get there, and they're going to lose a lot of money in the process. Because bear in mind, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League charged $70 a copy at launch. And Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League peaked at 13,000 players on Steam, but each one of those paid $70. And the owner estimations, granted, a lot of these, they sold it for like $3 a copy for a while. So the numbers here aren't that helpful, but they sold probably multiple tens of millions of dollars in just raw copies, not to mention microtransactions and stuff. So they had cash to actually bankroll and keep servers running and stuff like that. Highguard, I don't think has that luxury because it's free to play. I mean, I just don't think so. LMAO, only 109 players playing it. Yeah, I mean, considering it's actually abandoned, it's actually not that bad. That's pretty good. They gave the game away for free after. Oh, well, there you go. There you go. So here we are. When do you think Highguard will shut down? My guess is they'll probably let the servers run through the end of the year, because I think they probably signed contracts for a full thing, but we might see something where it's like December 31st is the last day to play it, something like that. January 31st, they did like a full 12-month prepay or something. I'm not sure, but that'd be my guess. When do you think Wildlight will close? If it closes, I mean, it sounds like they might stay open through the end of the year, just with a skeleton crew to finish things out. They might try to sell to somebody, get Respawn to buy them out or something like that. Who knows? Just for the talent, basically. Yeah. What's Jeff saying about it? That's actually a good question. This is also funny.
Hi, I'm Felicity. I'm 22 years old, and I'm reading for the role of narrator in Princess Party. Just let me know when I can start. Okay.
Petunia Tabernacle emerged from the castle with a young frog. She took the frog and kissed him squarely on the lips. When she kissed the frog, he turned into a prince.
Felicity, could you do it a little bit more feminine, a little softer? I'm so sorry, just the note said that the narrator was wise beyond her years. Okay, no problem, I hear you. Hi!
Sorry. I had that pulled up. I had to share it with you. Anyway, it looks like Jeff has not said anything about it. Nothing yet. Frankly, I think that it's unfortunately just another, I think that this whole thing showed how, like, I think Jeff, let me back up. I think Jeff is owed a lot of credit for legitimizing the gaming industry, building it out, helping promote it, and like pulling developers and audiences together. And he deserves a ton of credit for that. Like, he really does. When E3 died, he swooped in and gave us multiple alternatives, which I think is admirable and really, really cool, because otherwise we'd be totally screwed. That being said, I think this whole Highguard debacle showed how out of touch a lot of people in the gaming industry are with the core audience. For better or worse, like, I think that it showed that there's a lot of people in game journalist positions, a lot of people in production positions and stuff who just don't get where the common gamer is, which is why for so many of us, we saw that trailer and we're like, what are you talking? What do you mean this is a new breed? It looks mid as hell. You know, like, we did not understand it because we were just talking past each other. You know, I think we were just on totally different pages. I think that that's kind of what it's left me with. And like I said, I think Jeff honestly was trying to help out a game that he believed in and he really liked. And that is absolutely his prerogative, his right. There's going to be times where I'm like, guys, this game's awesome. You play it and you're like, bro, what? There's going to be times like that because we all like different things. That's fine. Jeff's allowed to like that. I think he got, in 48 hours, you're going to have to owe me an apology. I think that was a little cocky. Okay. That was a little bit like, I'll apologize if I owe you one, but if you don't, I get to make fun of you. Okay. You said he's the Jim Cramer of gaming, bro. That's hilarious. That's funny. I bet he'd laugh at that too. Anyway, there you go. It looks like Highguard is officially on its way out. Again, it's unfortunately a story that I think we all kind of saw coming, and we could have warned them about, and we tried to warn them about, but we were called hateful and unreasonable. But here we are. So there you go. That's that. Wish the devs the best, because again, it's not, in my opinion, it's not their fault. It's the fault of the executives that made this happen. Yeah, the concept outsource manager at Wildlight also posted that he's now open to work. Previous posting about the team on Highguard laid off was reposted by the project manager, executive assistant project manager, lead tech artist, audio director, VFX director. Looks like everybody. So there you go. Wish them the best of luck, and I hope they end up working for a boss that greenlights a better game that stands a chance. He took my thing.